Hi, everyone. This is Barb Bruno. I'm so glad that so many of you are joining me today. It's interesting because my office was being bombarded in the last hour by people that are asking if we could start a little bit late. They just can't make the call. And so that all of you know, anytime I do any free training like this, I always record these calls. And the reason I do that is I believe in starting on time for the people that got here on time. I really value the time that you're spending with me. So thank you all for being here. I'm so grateful that you value the training that I give and you do show up. But again, if anybody that you know is coming late, these calls are recorded. And anytime I do a call, I will always record it and I'll always send you a recording after the call is over. So if you have to leave early, or you know someone that can't make it, still sign up for any of the calls that I do because again, I record them, I'm going to send them out to you. And I was looking at the topic this morning, outsmart your competitors in securing top talent. But before I get into the training, I just want to talk to you one-on-one because I really value who you are and what you do for a living. And I want you to know that. It's interesting because I speak at the CEO conferences, I speak at a lot of corporate events, and I speak at some HR events. I also speak at staffing and recruiting events. And it kills me, it pains me when individuals refer to HR or talent acquisition as overhead. Because as you know, if you follow my training, I think you are the heart of your company. I want you all to feel very good about what you do for a living because without you, your company would not achieve their goals and objectives. And I know so many of you are under pressure. I talked to an HR director just this morning, and basically the talent acquisition team that he's got, they're juggling at least 50 to 55 openings each. And of course, every hiring manager wants their opening to be their top priority. And a lot of the requisitions are not they're just not realistic, when it comes to the level of experience they're asking for and the salaries that are being offered. And, I keep hearing nightmares. I just recently got back from doing training for a very large organization. And what I realized is there was no standardization, there was no consistency in the way that all their hiring managers were interviewing. And unfortunately, when a company hires someone that you've surfaced for them, if the person works out, you're a hero. But if they don't work out, then often the finger comes back and it's pointed at you. And I do firmly believe that retention and engagement absolutely starts with the interviewing and the hiring process. The problem is a lot of times you're sourcing the talent, you're interviewing them, you're passing them along, but that's where often things fall apart if people aren't interviewing consistently. So I just, for the few moments at the beginning of this call, just wanted to thank all of you. You change lives every single day. That's what you do, and you change lives for the better. So any training that I can give you that might help you have a better time, make your job a little bit easier, that's the gratification I get out of doing this. For those of you that don't follow me, because I noticed a lot of you were sharing the link I put on LinkedIn to other people, telling them to show up. So if you've never heard me before, I just want to give you a real quick background about where I get my information. This is not only my opinion as Barb Bruno. Yes, I've been involved in recruiting, and talent acquisition for over 30 years, but what I've realized is that the only thing that you and I can be assured of is that things are going to constantly change. And now with AI in the picture, they're even changing more rapidly than they did in the last, couple, 3 years since we all went through COVID, which really escalated so many trends that would have taken 5 or 10 years to happen. And all of a sudden, within a matter of 6 to 12 months, you and I are dealing with things we've never dealt before. But I've done 18 courses for LinkedIn. I have access to a lot of LinkedIn's big data as a result of that. I speak at roughly 30 events a year, and a lot of them are corporate events. I also do calls for job seekers once a week, and they don't know who I am. I have a career portal. They sign up for these calls. I just get in and talk to them one-on-one. And I do a lot of customized webinars and training for companies. And so I've got the advantage of firsthand listening to the people that you're hiring, listen to other people that do what you do for a living. And so I try to bring you information that I know is working today in today's marketplace. And I will open the lines for questions. Any questions that you have, I want every single person on this call to leave this training feeling that you have something you can go and implement that's going to make your life easier. Or if you have a question, if you're facing something that is driving you crazy, please at the end ask me questions. There are no questions off the table. You can ask me anything you want. And if I don't know the answer, trust me, I will find the answer and get back to you personally, because I want every one of you feeling that this is not a waste of your time, that you leave this call with action items that you can actually go on and implement. And so let's talk about the new workforce landscape, because it certainly has changed. The post-COVID era and the digital generations, millennials and Gen Z, have reshaped the workforce, period. And these groups really prioritize technology and growth and diversity and innovation. But remember, candidates are seeking roles that resonate with their values and their ambitions, not just another job. The days of, and I'm sure most of you, even myself, I used to think, gee, my company is great. People love to come and work for us. It's an honor for them to come and work for us. We offer a lot of things. We're a great place to work. And then all of a sudden I realized, several years ago, boy, the job seekers are in the driver's seat, and they have been and they will continue to be that way, especially the top talent that's hard to find. But your job as a talent acquisition professional, as a recruiter, as an HR professional, should get easier every year, because you should be building your network of people that you know. And again, every year, more and more people that you hire should be referred to you based on the experience of the people that you've hired. And again, just this morning, I got a call from a new person that I've never talked to before, and he was referred to us. And he said in the last 10 days, they've had 5 people that they hired during the month of April quit and just walk off the job with no notice. And they have no idea why these people quit. They weren't all in the same location. It was actually a very large construction company. They weren't working on the same project. It's just that they went to lunch and didn't come back, or they just didn't show up the next day of employment with no notice, no explanation, and now crickets. They can't even get a hold of them. And they're like amazed by that. They even had one project manager that they had gone after for over a year and had been basically courting this person. And the first time, the person had been with him 6 weeks, and the first time a major project hit, he just left. And no one heard anything from him. And I think that all of us know that because job seekers are very different, because the job market is candidate driven, top talent knows they're in the driver's seat. They might accept a job with you, but if you didn't take time to find out what was most important to them before you presented a job, often they accept a job when they keep interviewing. And I know that's hard for everybody to hear. You don't want to hear that. But if your job doesn't resonate with their values and their ambitions, and it's just another job, it's not their next logical career move, they will accept a job and they will keep interviewing and not think twice about that. And that's just a reality that's going on right now, which is why we have to change. We have to be smarter when you're going out there and attracting top talent. It's how are you recruiting them? How are you interviewing them? And you have to understand how they're thinking and what they're doing. If in fact, because you and I are not judged on how many people are hired, we're judged on how many people that are hired become engaged and retained employees, because turnover is so costly. And when I try to explain, like at the CEO conference, what I was saying to these CEOs was, you're putting such pressure on talent acquisition and HR to continually fill roles, but nobody is stopping all the people that are coming out the bottom of the funnel. You're losing people as fast as you're hiring new people. You've got to stop. You've got to stop those people that are leaving, to just give talent acquisition and HR a chance to even breathe sometimes. And let's talk about what are the key insights on the candidates that you and I are dealing with right now. Now, obviously, they are so technology savvy. Gen Z has grown up in a digital world. They're very adept at leveraging technology in very creative and efficient ways. They have changed the way that we communicate. They changed the way we work. They've changed the way that we collaborate. It's amazing. And again, I am extremely technologically savvy. I've had to be. I am a partner in a technology company only because I know as a business owner the impact that technology has on the growth of any company. And if I'm going to attract the right talent, I have to know enough to understand what it takes to not only attract talent, but again, to retain them, help them become engaged and retain them. They're very growth oriented. They seek roles that offer personal and professional development. When you're out there interviewing for a role, do not be surprised if when you're interviewing somebody, they ask where the job will lead to, what would their next move be? Now, I point blank at the most recent HR conference, I spoke at a talent conference, And they were saying, it's so ridiculous. We're trying to interview for a role, and all they're talking about is, what is my next role? What is my next promotion? And I go, but people that are doing that are usually your high achievers. They're your peak performers. And they want to know where the job is going to lead. And if you don't now identify how people can grow with you both personally and professionally that you hire, chances are you're going to have an engagement and retention problem. They've put a high value on the opportunity to learn, and again, sometimes the personal and professional development and the opportunity to learn even takes precedence over more money. And I know, throughout COVID, it got to be a war on who would pay them the most, and that's where the person would be. And if you feel you have to buy talent and that you got to offer ridiculous salaries to get what you need, you're wrong. You're wrong. I mean, money always enters the conversation, but there's a lot of other things that top talent are looking for right now, and things that your company has to consider if, in fact, you're going to outsmart your competition and hire the talent that they want as well. Diversity and inclusion. These are the most diverse generations yet. And the younger kids coming up right now, they look for a workplace that celebrate and incorporate a wide range of cultural perspectives. If you're interviewing me and I don't see another female in leadership, that's going to concern me. Or if you're hiring me as a upper level manager and I'm the only female in the upper management, ranks of your company, it's going to concern me. If I'm a diverse candidate and I look around and I don't see myself, that's going to concern me. And so, having a strong DEI, effort. And I know a lot of people are saying we don't have time to deal with this. I mean, it's hard enough to find talent, let alone worry about hiring diverse candidates. I am not telling you to hire a person specifically because they're a minority. You still have to hire the best talent out there, but you have to look that the resources you're using and your sourcing and your search process is also targeting the best talent that are diverse, and that you do have a diverse and inclusive environment, because it's going to hurt you down the road if you don't. And the new generations coming up. What I was shocked at, and I didn't realize this until I read a statistic from LinkedIn 2 days ago, is that by 2025, which is next year, 29% of the workforce are Gen Z. Now, I knew the millennials are the largest workforce since the baby boomers, and the millennials have kind of changed things, but millennials and Gen Z are very different. Gen Z likes to work in the office, where millennials love the flexibility and loved everything, where Gen Z likes that constant feedback, and they like to be seen, and they don't mind coming into work and that type of thing. But they're going to be 29% of the workforce by next year. I never thought that their generation was going to have that big of an impact on the workforce. Gen Z and millennials are almost right now 60% of the workforce. They're roughly around 57% of the workforce. But it's all changing. And they're very entrepreneurial and adaptable. By the way, if you're interviewing somebody and they talk about a side gig that they have going, and you don't like this side hustle that they have going, you're really going to limit your talent pool. So many people that are in the job market right now will do a great job for you, but they're still going to have a side hustle. You just have to know, you have to realize and clarify that the side hustle they have is not going to interfere with the work that they're going to do for you, and it doesn't compete with what you're doing. But it's hard to find. It's hard to find top talent right now that doesn't have some type of side hustle going on. That's just what they do. They have a knack for innovation. They're prepared to change the status quo, and they adapt to change very well, which is good. They've got that entrepreneurial attitude. But again, it does affect your current management team. It does affect current people that are out there going, well, wait, they don't have the experience I do. Why are they getting these new projects? It's because they're fast tracking their career. You and I have to be able to identify people that are peak performers. A peak performer. You and I know a peak performer when we interview one, because they've been promoted faster than they should have been promoted. They're doing things that are well above their years of experience, and they're that constant learner, that person that's out there constantly taking on new challenges, not seeing any limitations at all. Those are peak performers. And peak performers, some of the best people that you're going to hire are going to be people that when you interview them, they're going to talk about what is their next move, and they might stun you at a point. You're like, well, why are they not talking about the job I currently have at hand? But they're sometimes the best hires that you can make. Now, what about engaging candidates effectively? The candidate experience. I have to tell you something because I do a call for job seekers once a week. They don't know who I am and they don't know what I do. I have a career portal. They sign up for it. And like yesterday, I had 1,700 job seekers on the call. And we showed them how to conduct a job search through this career portal. And I do a live call for them once a week. And I just get on the phone and go, hi, welcome to today's job seeker call. And I train them for 20 minutes and then I answer questions. And they complain about us all the time. And they go recruiters, HR people, and they don't care if you're recruiting for a corporation or if you're recruiting for a staffing firm. They don't care if you're an HR professional or if, they don't care what your title is. They're tired of being pitched jobs. The way the job seekers feel, and I hear this week after week after week, and I do speak at some huge job fairs where there's, thousands of job seekers in the room. And the one thing they hate most is being pitched a job. And what they say is all companies care about is filling a job. All talent acquisition people care about is filling a job. They don't care about me at all. They just need to fill the job. They're being pressured to fill a job. They don't care what's important to me. They assume that what I'm doing is what I want to do next. They don't take time to get to know me at all. You've got to understand their current role dissatisfaction. You've got to understand why they're even talking to you, and what are their correct aspirations. I'm not teaching you how to interview today, but I'm going to tell you one thing. If you want to know why someone's talking to you, if you really want to know why a person will go through the trauma of a job change and why they won't accept a counteroffer, ask them one question. Write this down because it won't be part of the handout we send you, and it's not part of this program, but I want to share it with you because it's just one of the things I teach that are so effective. If you want to know why someone's leaving a job, ask them what are the 5 things they'd change about their current company if they were their boss to make their job more enjoyable, to convince them to stay at their current company, not leave. What are the 5 things, if you were your boss, that you would change about your current company that would make you stay there? Because what's interesting is you've got to listen to these things very carefully. Now, if they say money and advancement, and that's all that they say, they're going to use you to get a counteroffer. So you've got to say what else. And if it's still just money and advancement, tell them to go back and ask for a raise and a promotion now. That you don't want to give them an offer and then have them get a counteroffer because then the trust is gone. But it's interesting because all the other things they tell you cannot be resolved by their next raise and their promotion, which is a counteroffer. And by the way, the last number I saw, a statistic, was that 1/3 of all people getting offers are turning them down. 1/3. Think of all the work that you're putting in this, only to have them. And the 1/3 also includes people that accept offers and don't show up on their first day, which is isn't that like just a gut punch? It's just a gut punch where you go through all the work and then they don't show up and you think you're done. And so if you want to know, and what you have to be really, really intuitive, listen to what they say they would change about their current company, because sometimes the things that they would change about their current company and the reason they're talking to you exist at your company. And then you now know they're going to turn over. They're not going to be a fit for your company because the reason because if you ask somebody, why are you changing your job? Why are you thinking of making a move? They give you the same 13 answers. They've given the same 13 answers as long as I've been interviewing. But again, if you really want to know why they're talking to you about a new career or a new job, there's something going on at their current company that they can't change, or they can't stand their boss. So many people leave a person and not your company. They resign from the person. But you've got to be sure that those 5 things don't exist at your company. And again, understanding the dissatisfaction they have will help you, will help you develop rapport and trust, which really will differentiate you from everybody else. And that leads to meaningful engagement. If you ask somebody, what would you change about your current job? What must be there for you to accept a job today? I want to see the world through your eyes. Yes, we have a job to fill, but I want to make sure that I understand what you see as your next career move. Because I want to make sure if you take a job with us, that it's going to be that next logical career move that you see yourself wanting to make. What are your 3 and 5 year goals? You've got to know if this person is going to be able to grow with your company. Pitching a job directly is less effective. And all you do is prove them right, that all you care about is filling a job. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes all I care about is filling a job. I'll be honest with you right now. When I have a ton of jobs to fill, that I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't want anybody to call me. Like, don't call me, because every hiring manager wants their job to be your priority. And you get tired of the stress and pressure. But we can't afford to do that. We can't afford to do that. We can never only care about filling a job. We represent two people. We represent the candidate and we represent our company. And we've got to find out, what does this person see as their next career move? What must be there for them to accept an offer without hesitation? That's our job, And also, when we go home at night, it's good to feel that you did the best for both the people you represent as well as your company, because you don't want to put somebody in a job just to fill a job, and then you're going to get that phone call, well, they didn't show up today, or where are they, or they're not working out. You've got to have a dual hiring approach too. I really do believe that you have to have two different hiring approaches, a two-track hiring approach. And you might think that we can't do that. And I'm telling you, if you don't do that, you're never going to hire a high achiever. And it's so funny. I have taught more companies in the last 6 months to fast track high achievers because they were losing them. I don't care what your normal hiring process is. If you're doing more than 3 or 4 interviews in your whole entire hiring process, you're going to lose the high achievers. You can't have a long, drawn-out hiring process. But I think you should have 2 hiring processes. One for normal people that you hire. There is still great talent, but one to hire those high achievers that are on the job market and off the job market in a matter of days, not weeks. And when you see somebody that's been promoted faster, they're a fast tracker, they've been referred to you, you've got to call your hiring managers and say, this is a fast tracker. And you've got to start reference checking. You've got to start doing things very quickly, because if you take more than a week to hire them, you're going to lose them. And I can tell you, I had a company that I worked with last year that had a 14% turnover ratio in the first 6 months of hiring. 14% of the people they hired turned over in the first 6 months of 2023. And all we did was change their hiring process, how they interviewed, how they wrote requisitions, and we changed quite a few things. But in the second half of the year, in the second half of 2023 last year, they reduced that to 8%. 8%. Can you imagine how valuable that was, the impact on their bottom line? And so, try to develop a fast track hiring process. When you do say, and you can't say everybody's a high achiever, because you and I both know they're not. But when you have somebody, on the phone, or you're sitting in front of them and you go, oh my gosh, and you're so excited, your hiring managers and your interviewing process, there has to be one to get those people on board. Next is an objective-driven job description. I find most job descriptions are so boring. They're just boring. Now, I know a lot of you are using ChatGPT and you're becoming more creative with words and you're trying to make them sound more exciting. Your job description should not be like a job requisition should not be a job description. Your job requisition should be part of your company's marketing collateral. Now, I don't have time today to teach you how to write a job rec, but if you're reading a job requisition and you're bored, your recruiters, your talent acquisition people aren't going to be that excited over it, and you're certainly not going to excite potential hires. This should be part of your marketing collateral. Should be part of your marketing collateral. It should excite somebody about not only the job but your company. It should be really showing why someone should want to work for you. Also, I believe in performance objectives. If you're not getting performance objectives, that's part of the reason that you have no starts, no shows, ghosting. I love when people ghost and we blame them. Everybody blames the millennials. The millennials are so irresponsible. They ghost interviews. They ghost their start date. Every time somebody ghosts you, that finger you're pointing out at them, there's 3 fingers pointing at you when you point the finger at someone else. What could you have done different? Because almost always when I work with companies and they have a ghosting problem, the ghosting was not the candidate. It was something missed in the interview. It comes back to you. What did you miss? What didn't you ask? The reason they ghosted is they didn't see the benefit to them of taking the job or showing up, because they don't feel you listen to them. And so, get performance objectives when you're writing job requisitions. I want to tell you something else that happens. The normal job requisition has this long laundry list of things that must be there. And you and I both know how frustrating it is when you have 9 things that a hiring manager wants and you find somebody with 7 and they go, nope, they don't have the other 2. I want to give you two things that you can do. Number one, get percentages. What percentage of the time are they going to use these things you're asking for? And then just ask them, give me 5 performance objectives. How are you going to evaluate this person after 6 months? What do they need to do in 6 months or a year for you to come back to me and say, wow, that was the best hire I've ever made. Thank you. You did such a great job. What does this person have to do in 6 months or 12 months? What do they have to achieve for them to get a stellar evaluation? And you know, half the time when I ask for performance objectives, the person goes, I don't know. And I go, what do you mean? Well, you got the job requisition. I go, I understand that. But how are they going to be evaluated? What I've realized about 5 years ago was there's a tremendous disconnect between how your hiring managers are evaluating new hires and the job requisition, because the job requisition hasn't been updated in years. And they've used every talent the current person in the job had. And that's not even on the job requisition. And a lot of things on the job requisition they don't even need. So usually when I get 5 performance objectives, I go, okay, I want to make sure I understand this is how you're going to evaluate them. Then do we really need this and this and this? Because you're not using it that much and it's not even how they're going to be evaluated. And I've cut a list of 12 requirements down to 6 sometimes. And then I'll say, but by the way, if you're going to judge them on this, you're not asking for something that they're going to need to have. So you might actually add on a skill set that they're going to need. But now this person is going to become engaged and retained because you're going to share the performance objectives with the people you interview. Now, I'm sure you didn't like that statement at all. And I will be honest with you, there's times when I don't want to share it because I'm worried after an interview that when I share the job of the performance objectives, this person might not like them. And it's happened. You know, just recently we were interviewing someone for a director role. And we talked about the performance objectives, and there was one area that this woman was going to be evaluated on that she did not agree with at all. And she said, at a director level, I can't believe that they're going to be evaluating me on this area. Those are the people that work for me that should be evaluated. And I said, I'm sorry, but when we ask them, what are the 5 performance objectives? What do you have to accomplish in order for them to go, wow, best hire ever? This is one of the 5 things you're going to be evaluated on. She said, I don't want the job. And so we pulled her, and you know what? It was painful, but that person wouldn't work out long term anyway. They would either keep interviewing, they would not be happy because they're being asked to do something they feel is beneath them, you know, and they wouldn't have ended up being engaged and happy and retained. And so performance objectives are key if you want to improve retention and engagement. And insightful interviewing. It's not enough. I know you and I are busy and interviews can be a pain in the neck, and now we're doing them on Skype. I mean, there's AI, you know, driven interviews right now. But again, you've got to dive deep into a candidate's experience and their aspirations to ensure that they align with not only the role that you're offering, but with your company. And your company culture is not what's on your website. You know that, and I know that. Your company culture is different in every department. Your company culture, you can have 2 cultures in the same department, depending on what manager somebody's working for. And you've got to know these things. You've got to know these things if you're going to secure the best talent. Because don't describe the company culture that's on your website. You ask the manager, what is the culture in your department? Talk to the people that work there. What's missing? I always ask, whenever a hiring manager gives me a job, I go, what's missing in the current people doing this job that you'd love to see added to your department? And they go, what? I go, what skill set's missing that you're always making allowances for? And they're like, I never thought about that. You know, and that's the person that becomes engaged and retained. You've also got to maximize recruiting presentations. You have to understand what a candidate envisions for their next career move. Identify their key motivators that are beyond salary, such as leadership or company culture. You know, authentic engagement and listening are so crucial. You know, and again, why must you recruit every day? It's because posting and praying doesn't work. Why are job boards all going into different companies? You know, Amazon has AI and they have the big military thing they're doing, and Career Builder has an ATS, and they're all going into different businesses. You know why? Because the job boards are not attracting the 85% of people that are working and happy and not in a career move. Most job boards attract 15% of the workforce, 1-5, those people that are in an active job search. And do you want to put your reputation on the 15%? You've got to learn how to do recruiting presentations that really entice people to talk to you. And don't pitch a job. Just ask people merely, what is their next career move? You've got to have transformative recruiting techniques, because the recruiting techniques that even worked last year don't work right now. Asking, and I love, do you ever have people tell you, I don't know anybody? How many times have you asked for referrals and the answer everybody gets is, I don't know anybody? You know, asking the best professionals from their person, who do you know that you could refer to me? Who do you know that would be good for this job? It's always that same answer. I don't know anyone. Starting today, if you get that answer, I'm telling you, you're asking the wrong question. The question is, who was the best job title from your last place of employment? Because they can't say, I don't know anybody, because of course they know the best engineer from their last place of employment, or the best nurse from their last place of employment, or the best project manager from the last place of employment. What's beautiful about this question is they have no loyalty to their last place of employment. When you're out there recruiting and you're asking people who they know that they could refer to you, they think you want to give them their coworkers, and that makes them very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. I want to give you another tip. And I just did a session on this at a CEO conference a week ago. And I did a session on, you should hire the past employees back that you wish you would have never lost. I want you all to think about, how many people have you lost that were just amazing employees, and you don't even know half the time why you lost them, because exit interviews are not that effective. Stay interviews are what you want to do. We don't even do performance interviews anymore. We do stay interviews. But, what about all those past people you lost that you should have never lost? And often people quit a person, not your company. And so don't be afraid to hire past employees back. I always ask people I interview, do you ever regret leaving a company? Why do you regret leaving it? And, and it's amazing how many people would go back and work for a past employer. They just don't know how to do it. They feel funny themselves approaching you, but it's something you can do. Let's also talk about onboarding for a second. And I know I'm covering a lot of topics today, and you might go, oh my gosh, she's covering too much. I don't know which part of this presentation is going to help each one of you. I don't know if it's your interviewing, if it's your recruiting, if it's your onboarding, if it's your interaction with your hiring manager. I don't know where your issue is, because I don't know you. So I try to give you enough where hopefully every one of you can leave with at least, 1 or 2, 3 ideas that you can implement after this call, because there's no power in my training. I want you all to understand that. I love the accolades. I love that what I get after these calls. And by the way, connect with me on LinkedIn, because I post things that'll help you all the time on LinkedIn. But again, I don't know what's going to resonate with each one of you. So that's why I'm trying to give you a little bit in each area. Avoid common pitfalls, like a lack of structure or insufficient communication of company culture, inadequate training, information overload, and neglecting diversity and inclusion. Those are all killers of onboarding. A thoughtful onboarding process sets the stage for success, engagement, and long-term retention. If you don't have some type of mentorship program, that should be part of your ongoing and your onboarding process. What worked with the best talent even 6 months ago does not work today. It just doesn't. If you have not, I am telling you, every one of you on this call, if you have not upgraded the way you source, the way you recruit, your interview and hiring processes in the last 6 months, chances are you're not outsmarting your competition, because things just keep changing, and they're changing rapidly. They're changing rapidly. And it's not that there has to be consistency. There's too many people out there right now that are shooting from the hip. If your hiring managers are not all conducting consistent interviews, that's hurting your company. I'm telling you, if you implement ideas that I've shared with you, you would hire the best talent. Now, in the interest of time, I've obviously only touched briefly on some important topics. I'm hoping I gave you enough where you can go back and implement some of these. I can tell you, this is less than 3% of the training that we offer to talent acquisition professionals. And we would love, if you feel you could benefit by me helping you get some of this done, I would love to help any of you. If you don't have time to implement these things, or you feel that people are not going to, listen to you, I'm telling you, this is what we do. And we do it for a lot of companies. I mean, we have online training. I do customized webinars. I go on site for people. I just got done doing training for a Fortune 100 company. I'm teaching all of their managers how to interview, how to strategically interview. And I find it funny that they're hiring me to do that, but they listen to an outsider sometimes. You know, we would love to learn of your challenges. And again, if you set up a time to talk to us, we're going to strictly talk about what you're trying to achieve. We might be your solution, we might not, but you're going to benefit by the call because we're going to focus 100% on what's most important to you. But imagine the benefit of our training programs are updated weekly. We do live webinars where your team can ask questions. We do live coaching calls. Our online products all have a library filled with hot topics, you know, and again, we have so many resources. It just depends on what your needs are. But you can imagine the benefit of any of these kind of resources for your company. We also have a talent acquisition tutor that's delivered online. It's videos because nobody wants to read, so it's watching videos, it's self-paced, and it holds people accountable. And so it can train new people, it can help current talent acquisition people learn the latest, greatest things that are out there because they just keep changing. And again, if you want to set up a call with one of our representatives, there's a QR code, or you can call that number. And again, all we're going to do is focus on what's most important to you. And if any of you decide to invest in any of our training programs, we would extend a discount. All you have to do is mention this call. So I hope I gave you information that you can implement. Now what I want to do is answer your questions. You can ask me any question you want, and you can ask me one of two ways. You can go to the control panel on your right, and you see the word attendee. It's about halfway down. It's a gray bar. If you click on that, you see your name. And above your name, there's a little hand that looks like a hand icon. If you click on that, I gave you a phone number, a PIN number, and an access code. If you click on that little hand, I can unmute you, and you and I can talk one-on-one. I would love to do that. Or if you'd rather type in a question, go down to the third gray bar from the bottom, and you can type in questions. If you don't want me to say your name, I only say a first name, okay? I only say a first name. If you don't want me to say your name, please put confidential or anonymous. I won't even say your name. So, Coel, you asked me a question. What do you do when a candidate changes their salary expectations when an offer is made? They can't change their salary expectations when an offer is made if you pre-close them, Coel. So before you extend an offer, you always want to pre-close a candidate one last time before an offer is extended. And let me define what a pre-close is. You're going to call the person you're going to extend the offer to, and you're going to say, we are down to making a decision. It's between you and another candidate. And what we're trying to do now is just, test your level of interest in the job. And I want to reiterate, when you and I had talked, if in fact we offered you a salary of this amount and a start date of 2 weeks, is that a job you would accept without hesitation? And then you don't say another word, because that's when you're going to find out if they've changed something. Because understand something, they keep interviewing the whole time that they're talking to you. They keep interviewing, okay? And their friends have all told them, well, you should get this offer. And so and sometimes your hiring managers help this. The hiring manager said, oh my God, you're so great. And they become a legend in their own mind. So their money keeps going up, or family and friends. And that's why you want to pre-close to the process after every interview. Now, we've been talking about if in fact you got an offer of $85,000 and a starting date of 2 weeks, is that still an offer that you would accept? You can't be afraid to discuss salary after every single interviewing process, because they will interview elsewhere. They're all networked. They will not only interview with you, they're going to interview elsewhere. And that's why if somebody's talking more money to them, sometimes they'll go that way. And what you have to say, okay, and also I want to know about the entire compensation package. An offer is not just salary. So when they're changing their salary expectations, what you have to say is, I understand you're looking at more salary, but we match your 401k contribution up to this percentage. You've got this PTO. Our benefit package comes in at roughly $4,500. I don't know what else you're looking at, but we have a very competitive, benefit package. So I know you want to look at the whole thing. Also, I know we're talking about money right now, but you told me the 5 things you change about your current job if you were your boss. And you never mentioned money and advancement. These were the 5 things that you wanted to change that, and none of those exist with us. So you've got to constantly bring up what they said, they would change about their other job, and you've got to close to the no on money throughout the entire process. You've got to pre-close people. Don't wait for salary to be discussed at the very end. Know what range they're looking for and get a range, and then hope that the offer you get comes above the range. But it's your responsibility to know what they're going to accept. Okay, here's another one. How do you effectively speak to hiring managers that the hiring process is too long and can cause problems? Just tell them all the people that they've lost. And I'm going to tell you what I'm teaching companies. I just did some consulting for a company in Alexandria, Virginia. They do a lot of government contracts, and they were losing so many people. And government, I mean, it's like hurry up and wait. Now, they're not a governmental agency, but they have a lot of governmental contracts. But their hiring process, they sent me up there to teach them how to hire minorities. And it was almost funny. They said, we're losing all our minority candidates. We have no minorities in leadership, and we have governmental contracts, and we're losing them. And so when I went up there, the HR director, the HR VP, and about 70% of the HR department and talent acquisition department of this huge company were all minorities. And I walk in as a white female from Chicago going, hi, I'm here to teach you how to recruit minorities. We all just laughed. And I go, well, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know about you. And they go, we know how to recruit minorities. I said, obviously you must. And so I'm having, just off the top of my head, I'm saying it's either your hiring process, or you've got unconscious bias on the people that are interviewing. And I go, are you doing individual interviews? Are you doing panel interviews? Well, within 3 hours, I called the person who hired me down and said, it's not, your team knows how to interview diverse and present diverse. There's unconscious bias and your interviewing process is broken. And he goes, no, it's not. I go, no, it is. And you paid me for 2 days. I'm leaving. And so pay me for a half a day, because I'm wasting your money and you're wasting my time, because you're not open to find out what the real problem is. Your team has presented some outstanding minority candidates and they get screened out. And so then I said, I think there's individuals on your executive interviewing team that are hiring who they like and who looks like them rather than hiring the best talent, and you're taking too long. And so he arranged a luncheon with me and these key people. And I had 2 people come at me at that luncheon. Who do you think you are? You've been here 3 hours and you think you know. And those were the 3 people that were their problems. And so when they left lunch, I said, well, there's your problems. You want me to help you solve this or not? If you're taking too long, suggest panel interviews or let them listen to this recording. Because I'm telling you, long interviewing process, you are not going to get the best talent. Best talent is on the market and off the market quickly. Panel interviews are the way to really speed up the process, because you have a screening interview, you have a panel interview, and you have an offer. That's your interviewing process. And the panel interview is led by the direct report, and there's other people on the panel that are just delving deeper into the questions, and the answer is that the top person is, they're not asking different questions. The person that would be their direct report answers the questions. The other people on the panel get deeper clarification of answers from the person that they're interviewing. But again, you've got to let them know how many people they will lose, that high achievers. And I'm telling you that even if you have a normal hiring process, you almost need an escalated process on top of that. And so, again, they have to realize that, you're under pressure, and there's nothing worse than to recruit on a job and get the best person. And then by the time they get halfway through your hiring process, they're interviewing elsewhere. And you've got to let them know these candidates are the most well-networked candidates out there. They're not only looking at our job, they're looking at others. Hiring managers still think everybody wants to love and work for your company, and they've got time to make a decision. I had a company, a contract with me last month. I was doing some consulting for them, and their theory was they were going to lengthen the hiring process and really make someone want to work for them. And they felt that they even need to take more time. And I go, your process already takes 7 weeks. How's that working out for you? They go, well, it's not, but if you really make it harder to get in. I go, what are you talking about? And within a matter of 3 calls, now they're doing panel interviews, and it's working. It's working. And so but when you're talking to somebody, you're welcome, you're thanking me for them. When you talk to a hiring manager or you talk to anybody in your company, don't say that this is what you need, this is what you want. Show them how they benefit by changes that you're suggesting. We can get you the best talent if we just make a few changes. Or if you go up to anybody in your company and say, I think I can save us time and money. Our turnover is so costly. We can implement things that are going to lower turnover. When I do consulting for companies, I tell them, if I'm going to train you, I'm going to save you so much money. You're paying me, but guess what? If you implement anything I train you on, you're going to stop turnover. Your people will be more engaged. You're going to hire the best talent. What's that worth it to you? Remember, you're the heart of your company. And hiring managers should view you as a partner, as a strategic partner. And you've got to establish that during your intake session. It's how prepared are you when you go in there? And when you're done, do you give them a recap of what happened? Do you make your first recruiting presentation to them so they hear how you're presenting their job? Because half the time they make changes. I'm telling you, you are so valuable to your company, but you can't be afraid to suggest things. You can't be afraid to suggest things because you're the one on the hot seat. You're the one that everybody is blaming for jobs that are staying open, aren't you? And so sometimes, and I've done it, I've done it, and I'm sure you've done it too, where sometimes you just hire the best person you happen to interview. You know there's better people out there, but you're under so much pressure, you just get the best person you can get, and then they get hired, and then they don't work out, and it blows up anyway. You know, you want to get the best person out there, not the best person who's answering a job board ad or the best out of the first 3 you interviewed. And you can only do that if you've really revamped your sourcing, your recruiting, your interviewing, your hiring processes. That's when it pays off. And your company cannot hit their goals and objectives without you. I want you to think about that a second. If you're ever feeling like you're not appreciated, your company cannot hit their goals and objectives without you. And people are not their greatest assets unless they're the right people. The wrong people cost you a fortune. And you're the person that can help companies hire the right people. So think about that a second. Every time somebody says our people are greatest assets, I go, really? All of them? Is there anybody you'd like to upgrade? Who's doing a job for you right now that you would love to replace? You just don't want to take the time to write a job rec. You don't want the hassle of interviewing. What's that costing you? You know, so seriously, all of you, you hold the success of your company in your hand, whether they realize it or not. And you can change lives for the better. And let these job seekers know that you care about them, that you represent them as well. Yes, I work for this company. And yes, I'm trying to fill a job, but I don't just want to fill a job. I want to find somebody who this is going to be their next career move. And if I'm going to help you, you know, accept a job with us, what I want to know is that this is setting you up for what you want to do in 3 to 5 years. Like I'm helping you make the move that you feel is your next logical career move. You're learning something. That's why you've also got to teach these hiring managers to recognize transferable skills. People don't want to do the same job they're doing now. They don't want to do that. If I'm doing the exact job now and you offer me the exact same job at more money, I might take it, but I'm going to keep looking because I want to learn something with every job. I want to be stretched. I want to improve my marketability so I'm worth more. So they're not going to have everything you want. You want to offer a job to somebody where they're going to stretch a little bit and learn some things. And those are the people, by the way, that are going to stay with you. They're going to become retained and engaged because they're learning, they're stretching, they're enhancing their marketability. You know, so it all pays off in the long run. It sounds like it's a lot up front, but it'll pay off in the long run, and it makes your job easier. The reason I train is I want to make your job easier. I want to know, and by the way, any of you that implement any of these ideas, please share your success stories with me on LinkedIn. You know, you've got, this is our website on the bottom of the page, but, you know, connect with me on LinkedIn. And I love success stories. I love to hear what's working, or if there's anything that you feel, you know, that I should have done differently. I want that feedback too. You've got the number to my office right there. You know, I want the good, the bad, and the ugly. If there's anything I could have done different, let me know, because I do these free calls every so often. And of course, I put a little commercial at the end because I know that a lot of you hang up from these calls and you're excited and then you can't make it happen. And if I can get in touch with the right people in your company, I can help you make it happen. That's why I do a pitch at the end. But whether you buy from me or not, I want to give you things that are going to make your job easier and make you happier. You know, we help everybody else. Our job has to, you know, we have to be satisfied in our job too. And it can be frustrating when we're dealing with a broken, you know, with outdated requisitions and a broken hiring process. It will just help you. You know, they've got to view you as the heart of your company because that's who you are. All right. All the things I'm seeing now are thank yous, and I appreciate all your thank yous. I see no hands raised. Nobody wants to talk to me. I'm not going to take that personal. But and I appreciate all the comments you made. But you know what thank you can give me? Implement something. The way you can thank me is go implement something and really have it impact you. Have it make your job more enjoyable, then share your success story with me. That's the thanks I want. I want you to implement something you learn. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. I try to limit these calls to 45 minutes. I went 4 minutes over. I respect your time. And again, would love if you call my office. Would love if you click that QR code and talk to one of our experts. I'm telling you, they are so good. If you tell them your problem, they'll probably give you solutions. Whether you buy something or not, they're going to try to help you. And so, you know, anybody that's on this line, we want to help anybody and everybody. So whether you buy for us or not, you know, and if we're not the solution, we can probably tell you where you can go to get solutions to what you're dealing with. So thank you, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful job. And let's go out there and you get the best talent. Don't give it to your competition. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.